Now, we've been focusing on the criminal justice system this morning. There are growing calls for the government to strengthen the system. So to discuss this even further, I'm now joined by social justice veteran. That's Mary Haas this morning. Mary, thank you so much for joining us and good morning to you. I think as a starting point, at this stage, how would you describe the current state of our justice system?
Very worrying, very worrying. I deal with people, I deal with quite a lot of police. I mean, these are individual police in different parts of the country. I deal sometimes with prosecutors or retired prosecutors, and I deal with communities all the time who need police services and don't get them. But I've always said, if the police aren't doing their jobs, we've at least got prosecutors. But now what I'm finding is that the prosecutors aren't overseeing the police the way they're supposed to. I mean, a few years ago, during the height of the carnage in Cleveland, there was one malicious arrest on courts. It should never have happened because the prosecutor said, hang on a sec, you haven't got enough evidence to arrest these people. The court was being clogged up. Sometimes bail was being denied. People were losing their jobs, only for cases to be thrown out of court. Now, that's a waste of court time. It's a waste of police time. I mean, that's just one example of so many I could give you. And we have cases, if we look at this province, we have cases that have been dragging on for 10, 20 years involving political figures. And nothing happens to them. I mean, there's a World Cup tender case that's been prosecuted 2010. The former provincial commissioner and a businessman have been prosecuted for it. But the man who signed off on it has not been prosecuted because he was the National Commissioner of Police. I've got the document. He signed off on it. That case has been going on for about a dozen or 10 years. Nothing has happened. And we see this all the time when politicians are involved. There is a very strong perception out there that people are maliciously arrested because they have fallen out with a certain faction of politicians. And those that are in the right faction just don't get prosecuted.
Yeah. When we look at the value chain of our justice system in the country, we're talking here the law enforcement agencies, we're referring to courts, but also the correctional services, side of the justice system. Where exactly would you pinpoint the gap? Is it the lack of thorough investigation? Is it a skills deficit? Is it political interference, you think? Where exactly does the problem begin for you, Mary?
Look, all those factors play a part. First of all, you get people getting into the police, as now, who didn't pass the competency tests, but bribed their way in, bought people off, corruption. I've just got more information because we are trying to compile a report of people who are getting promoted through nepotism to management positions. This has been going on very overtly since 2009, and those management positions, if you take the Free State, they're Ace Magashule. Right, now Ace Magashule is no longer in the ANC, but he still controls the networks in the Free State. There are problems with the court in the Free State. There was a cover-up, which must have involved prosecutors, because certainly police management knew about it, right back soon after the Bester escape and the substitute of another body. The matter was taken away when, for example, the first body was found floating in the river and the mortuary manager phoned the police, they would not open a case. And because it was a mortuary, it had been in the mortuary before, so there was a crime. So he was told that the police management had taken it over. Now, this very police management are the people that are persecuting Patricia Mashale, who is in hiding in fear of her life because she blew the whistle on police corruption. This very same police corruption that are covering for Bester. She then gets an arrest warrant. We haven't even seen it because she was let down by the lawyer she had last year, who's now the Bester lawyer, coincidentally. And she's in hiding because she could not go to court. She'd been told by a magistrate 2 weeks after she was almost killed that she didn't have to go to court. We know people get shot at court. There was a witness shot or a whistleblower shot at Feinberg recently outside court. a witness in a Cleveland case was shot out right at the Umlazi court, despite my having warned her. It's too dangerous for her to go to court. There was an offer for her to appear remotely, and it was turned down. And yet Vesta is allowed to appear remotely. This woman is in danger of being killed anytime by the police. And no one is shouting about it except people who support her. So, I mean, and then the prosecutors, I have written to the NDPP about prosecution in the Free State because I wanted to find out if a report I got from somebody at the court that a senior prosecutor sits in on the meetings, the magistrates' meetings, which is unheard of. A prosecutor has a specific function. Magistrates are supposed to be impartial. You can't have a prosecutor sitting in on a meeting where decisions are taken about which magistrate hears which cases. I've written to the court managers, I've written to the Minister of Justice, I've written to the NDPP. I don't get replies. I don't know if that's happening. And this is part of the problem we're having. You know, we have a constitution. Justice has to be seen to be done. Justice delayed is justice denied.
If I may just also come in there before I let you go, Mary, because time, unfortunately, is not on our side in this conversation. You mentioned an important point around witnesses and whistleblowers and their lives not being safe. Where then will there be confidence in the justice system from whistleblowers to come forth with very sensitive information that may implicate some of the most powerful figures in South Africa? I mean, is our witness protection stable? Is it effective? And does it even inspire confidence for more and more people to come forward with information?
Look, I mean, the witness protection serves a very useful function. I've seen it working for somebody who was a key witness in a case where there were life sentences handed out. And I don't know, the problem is often there when they have to leave witness protection, but it depends on who the people are. I mean, Thabiso Zulu, when the Human Rights Commission took the Minister of Police to court to try and force him to implement the public protector's instruction to give Thabiso Zulu protection, there was a loophole, and they said, well, the Minister of Justice can do it. Now, the Minister of Justice, Thabiso Zulu, was not a witness. And, you know, that's specifically for people who are going to appear in court on charges. And he said he wasn't safe. He said he would try it because he didn't want to seem to be uncooperative, but he said he did not feel safe because he's a high-profile political person, and that is why that is where the problem comes in. Again, it's political interference all the way through, and that is completely unacceptable. So, as I said, I mean, somebody like Patricia Mashale would not qualify to be in witness protection because she isn't actually a witness in a case, but she would not feel safe because what we found out with her matter is that it's not just peace management involved, it's also rogue state security people who are everywhere. And one of them is a high-profile person fingered in the Zondo Commission.
Mary, I have to leave it there. Unfortunately, due to time, I have to leave it there. But thank you so much for speaking to us, Mary de Haas, talking to us more about the state of our criminal justice in South Africa, being an activist for political human rights and violence monitoring. She's an expert in that field. So much to delve in this topic, so broad yet so concerning, knowing that this is where we are in terms of our law enforcement, our courts, but also our correctional services. There are loopholes and gaps there in terms of showing non-efficiency.